this is wrong because the Hamas still have hostages, and this is ethnic cleansing. Most Palestinian people will not leave their homeland because it's their home. Yeah. Yep. Here's the thing with this, Jonathan, is I don't have a problem. I actually don't have a problem with Christians who hold to this. The issue with this is the unjust scales in which this happens. And I'll be very, very, very brief with this. Ethnic cleansing just happened in Azerbaijan. The reason me and my family got ethnically cleansed from Baku 30 years ago just happened in Azerbaijan right before October 7th. 100,000 Armenians were ethnically cleansed from the mountains of the Nagorno-Karabakh region. It's just happened. So I just find it odd that everyone is upset about Palestinian ethnic cleansing. The potential of it's not even happening. And there's like real ethnic cleansing that just happened to Christians, and no one really cared. I think there's some unjust scales there, right? So it's like, to me, if ethnic cleansing is wrong, then it should be wrong when it happens to Christians, and everyone should be outraged. It should be wrong when it happens in parts of Africa. It should be wrong when it happens in Muslim nations, and it should be wrong when it happens in Gaza to the Palestinians. I just find it very odd that we have such a bias towards the Palestinian plight. I don't know why. Maybe because of the connection to America and Israel. Maybe because we think Israel bad and whatever Israel does is always bad. I just think it's really corny to me that people have such a bleeding heart for the Palestinian people. And I understand, because it's Palestinian Christians, and I have friends that are Palestinians, and I understand that is wrong too. If you're being reckless with civilians, that is wrong too. But where was the bleeding heart for the 100,000 Armenians that were just displaced at the end, 2 weeks before the October 7th attack? Why was no one talking about that? Why, like, the only people talking about it is like me and like Mel Gibson, a handful of people talking about it. Like, why was nobody talking about that? And so if ethnic cleansing is wrong, then it should always be wrong. It can't just be wrong when it happens to the group that it's trendy to stand up for. Because colonial Israel bad, so therefore we're going to speak up for ethnic cleansing when it's the Jewish people allegedly doing it, or when it's the Americans, or when it's the West doing it. But when it's the Muslims doing it to Christians, everyone's very quiet. Everyone's very quiet. It's very convenient to me. It's very convenient to me that the same people that don't have a moral framework for anything else in life, because men could be women and women could be men, and babies aren't babies unless you think they're babies. They have no objective standards for morality. All of a sudden find ethnic cleansing wrong when it's happening to the Palestinians, but they didn't have anything to say when it's been happening to Christians in Africa, when it's been happening to Christians in Azerbaijan. Why is that? So forgive me if the same people that all of a sudden are outraged at ethnic cleansing in Gaza are protesting and doing all these things, but they were silent on all these other things, and they have no moral compass and no moral framework. Because if a baby is not a baby unless you say it's a baby, and if a man could be a woman because they feel like it, why is ethnic cleansing wrong to you? How can you borrow from the Christian world? I'm not talking about Christians who have an issue with this. I would just say be careful you're not getting sucked into the trendiness of it. I'm talking about non-Christians who look the other way when kids are being pumped full of puberty blockers and castrating themselves, but all of a sudden have the grounds to say ethnic cleansing is wrong. Why is it wrong? If there's no morality and there's no absolute truth, and men could become women and babies are babies until when you feel like it, why is it wrong? Who says it's wrong? So the frustrating part is people borrowing from a Christian worldview to say, hey, people with a historic presence in a land shouldn't be displaced from a land. Fair enough. Okay, I understand. Israel situation is complicated. Both people claim to have rights to the land. Depending on where you start the timeline, is going to be determine how you look at it. If you started 200 years ago, well, yeah, there was Arabs there. If you started 2,000 years ago, well, goodness gracious, there was Jewish people there. So depending on when you start the timeline is going to be determining how you view that land. But nevertheless, it's complicated. There's people there now. What do we do with the people there? I get it. But it's just very convenient that we say these sorts of things and we get outraged about these sorts of things. but don't have a framework for explaining why it's wrong. Because talk to someone that's secular and try to corner them on what they think is morality, and it implodes on itself. Secular humanism, which borrows from Christianity, collapses on itself because it makes no sense to incoherent worldview. So why is it wrong? Who says it's wrong? I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace. You think all kinds of stuff that is right that I think is wrong, and I think all kinds of stuff is right that you think is wrong. So who says wrong? And then why be selective with ethnic cleansing if it's always wrong? Why were you silent when my people were ethnically cleansed in September of 2023? Where were you then? Why were you quiet? We came out here 30 years ago because of the same conflict in Armenia with the Arzi Muslims displacing Armenian Christians from the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Where were you guys then? Why was everyone quiet? Why were you guys silent then? Now everybody's a geopolitical expert and wants to tell me how ethnic cleansing is wrong in Gaza. And it actually hasn't even happened yet. It's the potential of it. It's the potential of it. So on what grounds do you have to say anything is right or wrong? I don't care who it is, Hassan, Destiny, all these guys or whoever, like, and Destiny was oddly enough very pro-Israel within his rhetoric. But Hassan, Jink, I always say his name wrong. It's a Jink, right? From the Young Turks, Ryan from Breaking Points. Why is it wrong? Based on what? And where were you when there was Christians that were getting ethnically cleansed all over Africa? It just seems like very selective. It's being very selective morality. And it seems like when it's convenient and it's trendy, then it's wrong. And we're outraged and we're marching with Queers for Palestine and all this nonsense. While queers in Palestine are getting thrown off roofs. It's very odd to me. Very odd to me. So forgive me for thinking perhaps there's something else at play. Perhaps there's a different spirit of the air. Perhaps there's a very interesting intersection and a horseshoe connection between the far left and radical jihadis. Perhaps you standing on your soapbox and telling people that it's wrong. And again, I'm not saying Israel is flawless and without fault. Israel has accidentally taken out some of their own daggone hostages. Like that happened. Like Israel soldiers went in and their own hostages waved white flags and they deleted them. They took them out. So they're not without blame in this. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying Israel has a blank check to do whatever they want. I'm not saying that. Don't you shill for Zionism, Ruslan. No. I'm not saying that. I had my man Emmanuel, who was an IDF soldier. His family still serves in the IDF, and I asked him, why y'all so sloppy? I did that. I had an IDF soldier and pressed him about why Israel is so sloppy. So miss me with the you're Zionist shill nonsense. But I just find it odd. No one has any answers for the Armenians. But you guys all love the Palestinians. What is it? Is it they just got better marketing? They got a cooler flag? They got a more interesting story of Western imperialism taking their land that both sides have claimed for thousands of years? Interesting. I just find it inconsistent. So based on what grounds is any of this right or wrong? Based on what grounds is any of this moral or immoral? You gotta explain the logic to me and the morality to me. You gotta explain it, because I don't get it. So maybe have just scales. Maybe be outraged when it happens to Christians too. Maybe speak up when it's not just the textbook story of oppressor versus oppressed, and this poor group being attacked, even though these people within this poor group actually kind of started it, historically at least. But it's complicated and it sucks. And I don't think any civilians should be harmed and killed and displaced from where they've been. I think that sucks. I think that's terrible. And when someone steps in and goes, well, hey, I'll clean it up, like Trump is attempting to do, maybe we shouldn't scoff and say this is ethnic cleansing. Maybe you say, man, this has been, the world has been full of nothing but ethnic cleansing for thousands of years. Why is it a little different now within the last 100 years? Why have things settled down now? What is it about the last 500 years, last 100 years that things have settled down? And again, maybe we could figure that out. Then maybe we can get somewhere. Maybe we get somewhere. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.